Man, I cannot wait for you to hear this Pain to Purpose story. It's going to give so many of you hope. This young lady, beautiful young lady, as you'll see in a minute. Well, what a story it is, because she spent a year and a half bedbound. Life was ruined. Her parents spent volumes of money trying to get her well. And this is a story of breakthrough. This is a story that I believe is going to change many people's lives that are watching this, because from fatigue, from hair falling out, from aches and pains, body problems, things that she couldn't figure it out, there's an answer. We're going to talk about the answer, what she did. But let me introduce to you Ava, and wait for the name, Pompa. Okay, when you were my client many years ago, your name was Ava Young.
Yes. Organic client.
Yeah.
Came to a total God thing, how we got connected.
We'll tell that story. You're going to have to hang in there for how she ended up marrying my son. Who
Just become a client, and then you can have the next son.
That's hilarious, actually. Yeah. We might have some takers here. But fact is that your story, I want you to go back, okay? And we're going to tell the first part of the story, okay? But then I want you to go back further, maybe how you ended up, how you got there, okay? But let's start with that, right? Where were you when you found me?
Where I was when I found you is I was in a very dire situation. Like I mentioned, I was bedbound for about a year and a half, probably a year by the time I met you, which sounds short, I know comparatively sometimes, but I mean, I was 17. My mom's my caregiver. I'm passing out in the showers. I got about 20 different diagnoses. So I had POTS, brain swelling, seizures, Hashimoto's. They told me hormone issues. You're never going to have kids. If I'm going to be real, at the time, I wasn't thinking about that. I'm in so much chronic pain, brain inflammation, swelling. I can't think, chronic headaches. Everything was going wrong. My liver, I have high enzymes. And at a certain point, I ended up going to like Mayo and Cleveland. You just start wondering, okay, there is something deeper, and I know there's something deeper, but why is my body falling apart?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, you were also, obviously you went the regular medical route for a while, you know, and in Mayo, et cetera. And then you were diagnosed with Lyme.
Yes.
Epstein-Barr.
Yes.
Which we're going to tell all these stories.
Chronic,
because,
right?
Yeah,
like
chronic
mono.
Right.
They even saw it in the blood work. Chronic EBV. Okay, it's still elevated, and you got it a year ago.
Yeah. But those things weren't really the problem. They were opportunistic, which many people chase those things and wonder why they're still not well. Well, you went through that. We're going to talk about the causative factors that really led to a lot of that. Okay, let's back up just a little further, because there is a tremendous breakthrough story here, but that so many people need, because so many people have the symptoms that you had. And those eyebrows, I'm going to tell you right now, they're real, because when you tell your
lashes, my hair,
it's all real.
Real.
No, it is. Well, no, I say that because we've done some social media things with your story, and people like literally just tear you apart. They're like, "Oh my gosh, those eyebrows aren't real." They're real, but the reason I even say that is because you lost those beautiful eyebrows.
I lost it. My lashes were falling out, and it is sweet. I will say, the women come to my rescue. Somebody will say, "Well, I had Hashimoto's, and I'd kill to have eyebrows like that." And at this point,
but it is the women who cut you down, not the men. I see. As I read some of that, it looked like the men who were defending you. But okay, all right.
It's just hit or miss.
Some of the women
and people,
defended
luckily,
you too.
I like them. It's not a big deal to me. If this was something I was insecure about, maybe. But again, when you go through a health issue like I did at that severity, that your self-confidence was so hit down. At this point, if you're going to comment on my eyebrows, to me, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm functional. I can drive my car. I can work. I'm good.
Oh, and by the way, I, have a grandchild.
Yes, the first one.
First grandchild, little Dovey, who I wish were here. She'd be, well, no, that's not true, because she's a wrecking ball.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
she would literally disrupt this whole thing here. But no, but she, beautiful baby that is only here because of this victory in the health journey.
Yeah, with your joke. It's like, because you healed me, I was able to get pregnant and have a baby. And that wasn't part of the dream at the time. The dream was to be sufficient, for my parents to not have to pay for all my procedures, for my parents like not to have to support me financially. And that's emotionally hard on their marriage too. And so, I mean, having a baby and getting married and all these things, I know we're skipping ahead, wasn't even a dream at the time. And I think I bring that up because when you walk through chronic illness, you're dreaming so small. Yeah. Right. And you would always kind of pull me out of that. You would say things like, and I know Marilee did that for you too. You would say things along the line of, you're going to be on this cellular healing TV with me one day. And you're going to, I know, it's weird how you're living in an answered prayer, and you almost need reminded of that sometimes. And it is fun to talk about, because with even getting better and you allowing me to share that testimony from God and like him using you in my transformation, people will come up to me now and stop me. Oh, I got well. You were a catalyst in my journey, and this is why I signed on. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm sure you get that a lot. Yeah. That's new to me. Yeah. And she's referencing the Pompa program, which was birthed out of when I would take clients on years ago. Everything I taught doctors for 20 years is like I was obviously, putting into practice for people like yourself looking for answers that didn't have any. And birth was Pompa Program out of that, because now we've helped, I don't even know how many thousands, I think indirectly through the butterfly millions. Effect. No doubt about it. Yeah. And the very things that got my life well, got me better, got you better, right? And we've been on that mission. Yeah. It's really, really encouraging, because I think something that really opened my eyes, I know you were talking about chronic Epstein-Barr and chronic Lyme. They were interferences, but they were symptoms of my immune system being distracted by upstream causative factors at the cell. And what was just really encouraging is working with you, I realized my body wasn't broken. I just hadn't had the right approach. And there's so many half-truths even in the natural world. And you hear that with the clients I talk to, or the people I talk to. This Rife machine, I was talking to somebody about that last night. Well, and let me just speed up it, because pain to purpose, right? It's like she started literally working with clients, leading them to the program. I mean, just organically, when you get your life back by something, it's like you just want to tell the world. For sure. And that is the pain, and then it became your purpose. And talking to people just like yourself and people looking to get their lives back. And now she trains so many of our, people that are, health advisors and, people that lead people into the program. So pain to purpose. Okay. But I want to go back, because I mean, how did you land there? I mean, did you have a normal childhood, go back to childhood? And then when did it not become normal? I guess. I think looking back now, I know it's not normal, but at the time I thought I was very average. I had asthma, I had allergies. I just remember growing up, my grandparents have a farm, GMO corn and soy, so not the healthy. Meaning the chemicals growing up on these farms, we know now opens up the blood-brain barrier and allows things to cross in. Yes, and what shocked me, and I think you talked about this too, is that happened in the last 50 years, because we love to say, oh, but our generation had this exposure, our generation ate this food and we're fine. That opens the blood-brain barrier. These heavy metals and these exposures, infections are actually able, from what I understand, cross the blood-brain barrier. Exactly. Yeah, they go deeper. And that's the thing, is we know all of us are now exposed to this chemical called glyphosate. Sure. There's others, but 2012 was the first study that I had recognized that said just that. This chemical that's sprayed on most all of our food, unless it's 100% organic, and it's in 60% of the rainfall, opens up the blood-brain barrier, allows the already accumulated toxins that we got from our mothers, our environment, to cross deeper into the brain, accelerating neurodegenerative conditions. All these conditions we're seeing today with the anxiety, the brain fog, the gut problems, all of it being accelerated in a perfect storm by this one chemical that everyone's exposed to. You had a lot more of that exposure. So that's set the stage. And I remember riding on the combine with my grandpa. Spraying. It was just normal. We were very involved. My grandparents were there, my cousins. I had 8 cousins. I was one of 9. And so we hung out there all the time. And then I was always the kid getting extra flu shots because I had asthma and allergies. Oh, and that's I don't want to say tactic, but that was part of them saying my brothers wouldn't get the flu shots multiple times per year. I would, right? Because, oh, I'm sick.
And by the way, flu shots, even to this day, for people listening, contain mercury. Well, RFK to the rescue, because thimerosal, this was just passed. It's still in there, but it's going to come out. By law, he has basically mandated. He went before Congress, showed them the research on something called thimerosal that contains mercury, and it's still in flu shots and some other vaccines, but now it is going to be outlawed. The problem is that oftentimes as the mercury comes out, aluminum levels go up.
For sure. And then praise God on that. And to your point, and this is something I learned from you as well, the difference between thimerosal or mercury being injected is different than eating fish. And I think some people don't even recognize that.
It actually penetrates the brain more. There was a study, a monkey study done some years ago, and they literally from the study said, oh, this ethyl mercury, as it's called, it's in and out of the body so fast, they were literally calling it the safe mercury because we couldn't detect it in the monkeys, et cetera. Well, it was some years later that one of the scientists in the study said, hey, we kept those monkeys' brains, right, in different body parts, et cetera. Well, he autopsied the brains. They found the mercury. Most of it went into the brains, and they realized ethyl mercury crosses into the brain faster than methyl mercury, which is in fish. And it's still, methyl mercury still has its problems. It's just ethyl mercury is even more deadly. And that's what's in the thimerosal that's in these particular flu shots and vaccines.
That's shocking. And people don't know that. And I think the hardest thing to kind of wrap my head around this is that was so normalized, especially in Indiana. We grew up on a farm. I raised pigs. I loved my childhood. I have really, really fond memories, but my parents didn't know better. And when they,
of course,
right. And then it's like that perfect storm. And so I was okay though. Most of my childhood, it was just allergies and asthma. I say just, but now I know it's not normal, but it wasn't until I went to a military camp. I got mono. It was going around. Then I got bit by a tick, and then they're like, oh, potentially Lyme disease, but it was negative because I didn't catch it soon enough. And that just tanked my immune system. And that's when all the diagnoses started piling on. And my life quality, like just for reference, I was varsity volleyball, varsity basketball, straight A student. I remember being 16 years old and my brother throwing a party for reference on who I am. I'm telling on him. And I'm the one going to the gym, making a protein shake, get these people out of the house. I was just very straight-laced. I like structure. I'm a hard worker. I like routine. And so when I wasn't able to function anymore, I lost a lot of my identity, and it stressed my relationships. I had to delete social media. I remember people would say, well, I don't see photos of you gaining 40 pounds. I'm not taking selfies when I'm having seizures in bed while I'm fat.
Who is?
Right, you're embarrassed.
Even males aren't doing that, right? Let alone a female who.
Here's some sympathy. I'm crying. I didn't tell anybody.
Well, we did have some pictures. I should have told you to bring them because we had.
We can insert them. I have.
Yeah. We can insert some of the pics because, I mean, you definitely.
Do you remember
didn't
what you said?
look like this. No, what did I say?
You don't remember?
No, maybe I do. I don't remember.
The swamp monster.
Oh, no. That's so funny. I really said that.
It was rough. Yeah.
How did that make you feel when I said that?
Terrible.
Yeah, oh, God.
Well, it made me in a weird way feel, I'm like, well, I don't look like that. And even somebody who saw me in the height of my chronic illness, one of the dentists or surgeons who is trained in root cause protocols that you work with and refer people to, he came into your house because he's visiting, and he mentions I look like Brooke Shields and doesn't even recognize me. He's like, oh, what's your name? And I've met him 3 or 4 times. So good to meet you. I'm like, score. I'm not ugly anymore.
I was your patient.
I know you, Jerry.
Sava. No, when you transitioned, and again, when we started getting to the real causes, because you did a lot of things, like I did.
Yeah.
Right? Chased your thyroid, chased your adrenals, chased your
all
hormones.
did you do?
Oh, God. I mean, I did a little bit of everything. And I look back and I laugh sometimes because if I thought someone had an answer, I would go, right?
You're a good client, yeah.
And I remember this one clinic that I go to, I won't mention any names, but I read the guy's book, right? And I thought, surely this is going to be the answer. It's going to help my adrenals and my thyroid. And I went in there You know, I could always tell when I would sit across from a doctor whether they were like really listening or they were just going to go into what they do.
Yeah.
Because I always thought the answer was in my story. Like I did. I always thought like if they just listen to the clues, like when I got sick, how I got sick, this, they're going to be able to help me, and I would have hope if they listened. Okay, I immediately didn't have hope because I could tell he wasn't listening, and I could tell that he was just putting me through the ringer. So I went to this thing called TikTok. And, it was just, and I laid back, and it was like this thing behind me going, tick.
Oh, not the app. I'm like, there's TikTok at the
no.
time. Like, how young are you? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm talking to a different generation here. They didn't have TikTok back then when I was sick in 1999. That was probably like 2001. Who knows? But anyways, no TikTok.
I was 1 year old.
This TikTok was like a little, I don't know what it was, actually, but I'm sitting there going like, you know, where are the exits? Because I'm just wasting my time. And at this point, I'm like, you know, wasting more money, which I didn't have at the time. Okay, so that was just the other thing. And then they moved me from TikTok to this other sound thing, right? It was like, anyway, I did so many things that were just a waste of money, looking for hope. I would have hope. And then anyways, we left there. And frankly, it wasn't that much money that day because I don't even think that it was a value to them. But anyways, long story.
It's so relatable to everybody, myself included, and the clients I talk to. And I hear people do, actually, maybe this wasn't the best thing, really, really good protocols, whether it be stem cells, hyperbaric, ozone, Rife machines. You know, they're taking the newest methylene blue or this like phospholipid support. And they're like, I'm addressing the cell. And I think the sad thing is the way it's marketed. And like you said, I didn't have the money. My dad worked in the factory growing up. My mom was a teacher. We didn't have the money, the time. You were a husband and a father at that point. That's so stressful to walk through that. So it's not only the money, it's going through the ringer of like getting a little bit of hope, knowing you're in the wrong place, not being able to connect the dots. You feel so, I don't know if you relate to this. Did you feel isolated? Because I just felt so like misunderstood.
Well, no one understands.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, my wife, you know, Marilee, she understood as best she could, but still not until you live that life. Like, especially when I became really sensitive to things, right? Like, she really didn't understand because it would change my personality, right? And then I started feeling guilty, and then I started pushing her away because of the guilt myself. So it's amazing our relationship lasted, you know.
Well, it's a testament to God and her devotion and your devotion too, and what he's transformed with that. But you said something that I think so many people can relate to is you push people away. I remember
That's that isolation. You want to be isolated somewhat, but yeah.
You do, because I just remember not having the energy to hold a conversation, and that sounds bizarre, but I mean, you don't. Yeah. You don't have the energy to hold a conversation. Nobody understands. And I mean, how do you tell people when you don't know what's going on? Okay, what's your diagnosis? And so I send over these like, oh, I have POTS, I have dysautonomia, I have liver issues, my brain's swelling. Okay, so where's the med to fix it? And if I'm going to be completely real, I was open to taking a medication to fixing it. Yeah. Didn't work. I was like, fix me.
Yeah, I mean, especially because, I mean, I came with a philosophy, right? It's like where medication is not the answer, but I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, there was times where, you know, I was saying to my wife, you think I should just be on, you know, a psychotropic drug, meaning like something is wrong. You know, I was at the point where I'd have done anything. Yeah. I mean, it's true. You know, we talk about isolation. My sister was just here, Diane, you know, one of my angels, you know, and like in my life, but, you know, she remembers me just like, you know, hiding it. Like, she's like, you know, we didn't even know you were sick. I'm like, Diane, I know, because I was embarrassed. But she also remembered just me not showing up, or, you know, or maybe I was like not showing up for birthday parties, things that I loved, right? Yeah. Family functions. I was like, Diane, I just didn't even want to be there because I didn't have the energy. People would start saying what's wrong. And you can't say, I have, you know, because people don't understand, right? Just go to the doctor, right? It's like if they only understood. I remember the day that I told my parents, and exactly what I thought happened. They just didn't understand because I faked it. And so they thought like, I just remember them being very confused. I remember the day I told my business partner, you know, it's like, and that was a really hard day for me because I feel like I let them down. I felt like I let everyone down. That's why I hid it.
Yeah.
So talk about isolation, right?
Yeah. And it's just so lonely, like you're talking about. And the crazy thing is you're hiding it, you're pushing through. And then when you do open up out of not even desperation, but you kind of have to because you're slipping or you're not being able to show up the way you normally would.
Yeah.
So you kind of let them in and then you're misunderstood.
Yeah.
And they don't get it because you're also confused. And so it's just like it's a very painful thing all around. And so that's even when I remember talking to you. Like, I remember our first phone call because I wasn't his typical. He didn't take 17-year-olds because typically a 17-year-old is not going to listen to anything.
No.
I was going to listen to anything. And I felt so seen, heard, and validated by you. And so like that was such a I was still sick.
Yeah.
But it was like a pivotal point for me.
The difference was, again, being there, being on the other side, right? Knowing that it's, that person needs me to hear their story. Yeah. But truly, I understand that the solution, I'm trying not to say the C word, right? The solution, yeah, I was like, pause. The solution is in the details of the story, meaning the causes. Yeah. Right. And we're going to talk about that because when I heard your story, I can tell when I hear a story if I believed I could help them. Yeah. Right. You can hear someone's story now and know if we can help them. Right. Yeah. Because you start hearing all the things that every alternative doctor didn't get to. Western medicine, as it is, isn't even equipped to dig for the causative factors. Yep. Right. But when I'm hearing somebody's story, when I hear their symptoms, put it together with their story, you could start seeing what was missed. Yep. And that's what you heard. Like you knew by the questions I was asking you that no one's ever asked me that.
Totally.
Yeah. Can you remember?
I can remember the questions you were asking me, the hope you gave me, the confidence you had. And I think it was just really, really neat for me because I always told my mom this multiple times. I remember looking to her and saying, this is my chance. This is my chance. Because I had hope. And I'm going to, I don't want to cry, but imagine your mom giving you showers at 17. You're not dating. You're not, I fell off the face of the earth. I didn't go to prom. All these things that I always thought were these are going to be some big moments. Yeah. And you miss out on, you feel really behind. And even my dad's relationship was strained and he is an amazing dad, financially got loans, put the money in that they didn't have for me. But he didn't get it. Yeah. And it was hard for him to see me hurting and everybody deals with that differently, Yeah. And so he's like, okay, we got to fix this. I'm telling you, any crazy expensive thing, he would call somebody, he'd get a loan, he'd go to the bank. That was
he didn't get it
for me.
But he was willing to do anything for his daughter.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I remember a lot of stuff he didn't get.
But he's like, what's going on?
But his love for you was evident because even though he didn't get it, he's like, whatever, right?
For sure.
Yeah,
and then after seeing me get better, I think that was one of the most encouraging and inspiring things is after seeing me get better I still remember this conversation. He stopped me in the car and I was just starting to, I remember my mom called you too. Hey, she's getting better. She was out until 5 a.m. last night.
Yeah. Oh my God.
What do I do, Dr. Pompa?
Yeah,
You're like, well, this is a new question.
Yeah. Cause I'm like, oh boy, right. It's you feel a little better and then you go out and sabotage, right? And it's not like you were a drinker, but you were staying up late.
No, I was staying up late. Well, and I'm I'm around friends. I'm going to go on a date. I'm going to get back out there. I got to, make up for lost time.
Yeah, then the next call would be like, I'm fatigued again. Okay, hold back. Yeah, I know you're feeling better, but hold back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say my dad apologized. And it was really, I still remember it to this day where he knew something was wrong. I think because the doctors, even at Riley and Mayo, were just saying, take a walk, take this fibromyalgia medication, take these muscle relaxers, and just pray for her. She'll be okay, right? Just walk it off. It's long mono. It's all these issues. I mean, even there were tangibles like brain swelling. There were tangibles like the seizures and the tremors. But he apologized just for not getting it because it did. Full transparency, and I think people can relate to this. Whether you're married or a sick kid or you're the sick parent, I mean, there's different dynamics and how that plays out in your family life and makes you feel personally. Yeah. I felt awful. I felt like I was going to ruin their marriage, their finances, and I was a burden. Yeah. They wouldn't say that, but
you have guilt, right?
Yeah.
Like you had the loss of your those important years, dating, etc. When I was sick, I had the loss of my kids at that age, right? It's like your husband. He was the oldest. I had 2 boys at the time, Daniel and Isaac, and he remembers, right? It's like I would fake it. I remember, I mean, we went to an amusement park. It was one of the good days. I woke up and I'm like, we're Idlewild Park. And I literally blocked this memory, by the way. And it wasn't until recently that it came to me, and I like wept like a baby because I thought this was a good day. I had the energy that day. And some days are like that, right? Good days, bad days. And I remember when it went bad and sitting on the bench, and the boys knew it was going bad, and they had their hearts set on this day. And I just wept so hard because I ruined another day. I ruined another day. And I remember one of them saying, you know, is Daddy sick again, Mom? You know, it's like, and, you know, I don't even remember her answer, but, you know, the answer was yes, right? But she probably didn't even say that. I don't know what she said, but it was another day ruined, you know. And I remember looking at pictures because, you know, I would go get my blood work and all my numbers would be good. Everything would look good. And, you know, they looked healthy, but I look back at my pictures, like your pictures, and I was pale. I mean, I didn't look healthy to me, you know,
Right.
but they didn't know what I should look like. So they thought I was healthy. So they thought it was just in my head, you know, and that's a horrible
And to
feeling.
be misunderstood, and to like, you had a good day, which still to the average person, if they woke up feeling like how we did in our chronic illness every day, felt like you got hit by a truck.
Yeah.
I had chronic headaches so bad I would wear ice caps and just like.
I think we had a picture of that.
We have
actually.
a picture.
Yeah,
I'm
we have
in
a
my
picture of
brother's
that.
concussion cap with ice, and so you're pushing through, trying so hard, and then to still like feel like you're letting the people around you that you love down.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult. And I don't think about this. What's interesting is as we're chatting, you're removed from it, and I'm removed even like 5 years. I haven't had joint pain in years. My joints were so swollen. They told me I had arthritis at 17.
Yeah.
I'm almost reliving it. That's why you get emotional, but I don't think about it
Take
day to day.
steroids. Yeah. Here.
Oh, yeah.
Arthritis. do this.
Methotrexate,
Yeah.
steroids. What was the other? Metformin for blood sugar. I mean, there was muscle relaxers for fibromyalgia, antidepressants, which you get more symptoms. There's side effects to those medications.
Let's transition to a happier moment. I mean, so we kind of alluded to this, right? It's you, like myself, did a lot of things, right? We both addressed our adrenals, we addressed our thyroid, we addressed our gut problem, we addressed, all these natural things. Of course, you probably had more of the Western medicine than I did, but again, maybe some things helped a little bit. I know when I supported my adrenals, it did help a little bit with my day energy, but I seemed like I'd sleep worse those nights. I would almost have more of a revved feeling, so it wasn't the answer.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I met a very bright endocrinologist who said, I think you have mercury toxicity, you know, and anyways, long story, but he ended up to be right about that. So let's uncover for them some of the big breakthroughs that you had.
Yeah.
So in me interviewing you for the first time, we did uncover some possible connections, right?
Yes.
And again, you did have Epstein-Barr. It did make you worse.
Yes.
You did have Lyme. It did make you worse. But again, just to try to battle those things back, it wasn't the answer. We had to knock Epstein-Barr back because it was so problematic. But again, I mentioned earlier, it's opportunistic, meaning when the immune system gets crushed, these things overwhelm the immune system and become problematic. But let's talk about some of the exposures that we came up with.
Yeah, and you were asking these questions that nobody else has asked. And so a big one for me personally was the dental infections. And that's something nobody had ever looked at. Wisdom teeth extractions, the way they remove them can lead to cavitations, root canals. That was a big thing.
So let me just back up. A cavitation, where the way that they were removing wisdom teeth, and still are in many cases, although we've learned a lot, it would heal over. 20 years later, sometimes way less, right? A few years later, it heals over. No pain, but there's infections that harbor where the tooth was taken out. And for different reasons, it stays there. But decimates the immune system.
Yeah.
It decimates the microbiome.
The gut.
Yeah, exactly.
Which so much of your immunity. And then of course I have chronic infections. And what was interesting, I think I was one of the first ones, or just a slightly different case, where mine grew in impacted. And so I hadn't even had them removed.
I missed it
for a little,
a year.
Yeah.
I missed it for a year because you had your wisdom. I was used to seeing people that had wisdom teeth out. And it's one of the things that we always look at. And you can't see these things on an x-ray. So people run out because they're going to call their dentist and go, look at your x-ray. It looks clear. Yeah, mine did too. So did yours. But it's a cone beam and they have to be trained.
They have a specific software. That's why I worked with you and your team of experts to do it right, save the money, I jumped through more hoops than I needed to.
We work with dentists around the country who know how to identify these things. But so I missed it on you because you had your wisdom teeth, so I didn't think there was one of these.
Right.
I don't remember, refresh my memory.
I remember the catalyst.
Yeah, tell me the catalyst.
So, this is what kept happening. You were trying to detox because you work with detoxing the cell membrane, getting the inflammation down, using the right chelators and binders in their half-life, getting into the blood-brain barrier. And I was trying to get into the brain phase because that was obviously a big part of my journey.
Yeah, this is where a lot of the toxins are.
Yes.
And this is what alternative medicine just doesn't do correctly. 20 years of teaching doctors how to do it right.
Yep.
Still frustrated.
Well, that's why, you have what you do now. Exactly, to get people lasting results. And so we were getting into the brain phase, and this is what I kept saying. And I remember, I was motivated. I'm doing it. Tell me what to do. I'm doing the coffee enemas. I'm doing everything I can to help the downstream.
And by the way, I want to say that. So I don't take on typically teenagers. I took you on because I sensed that in you, that you were going to do anything that I told you to do. So I did that. I took her on. So anyways, sorry to interrupt you.
Coffee
I don't know if we closed that loop earlier. So we closed
I'll do anything. And so I just kept saying, and it was ironically enough, it makes sense because the infections and even where the infections were, I kept saying my head feels like a bowling ball when I'm detoxing. I'm trying so hard. I'm in a lot of pain when I'm detoxing, and I just could not drain. Yeah. And so then some people, the average doctor, even naturopath, okay, lymph work, it wasn't working. And so you said, get a cone beam, send it to this type of dentist with this specific software. And lo and behold, I have these infections.
That were hiding underneath. Sometimes the wisdom teeth, they move and they create a gap. Then infection, all the Lyme, the Epstein-Barr, even parasites now, we know they hide in those pockets.
I have the photo. I was one of as always, I feel like I was always the worst, which in a weird way is kind of relieving because I'm not crazy. Look at me. I'm horrible. I have actually this going on. It kind of felt nice to be told that's a really, really bad result. And so when they went in there, I had them send out a biopsy because I wanted to know, and I can put the results on the screen. Yeah. Everything was in red. Lyme, like staph bacteria. I mean, no wonder I have chronic infections. Yeah. My gut issues and my antibodies, so my antibodies were in the thousands. They started 500 for Hashimoto's, the ANA. Yep. They were very, very high. I got this removed with the brain phase, with the cellular detox, with the shifts you had me make. I have no antibodies. They are undetectable. Yeah. I'm not on glandulars, and I'm not on any armor thyroid. Yep. That's nuts.
Yeah, well, that's the power of getting to the cause. The body heals. And it sounds trite and easy, but it's true. That was a cause that no matter what you would have done, all the tricks, all the saunas, all the whatever, all the detox, nothing would have worked because these pathogens were hiding there because your immune system allowed them because of obviously some of the things we talked about, right? Do we even mention how the Gardasil vaccine really tripped you up too?
No, that was a catalyst. So, you're going, and also, by the way, this is TMI. I was virgin. There was no reason to give me a Gardasil vaccine, which is obnoxious now as a mom thinking about that. Just doing your due diligence and asking some questions. And I know some people lie, but there's no reason for this vaccine. So I'm going in when I'm already chronically ill. I have Lyme and I have mono, and they're giving me this Gardasil vaccine. I think they even gave me a pneumococcal, something like that.
Yeah, well, that's a flu shot, basically.
A flu shot. Yeah. So after that is when I remember banging my head against the wall that night at 17.
Gosh.
And I remember thinking, I screwed up.
Yeah, that's crazy because younger kids, autistic kids do that because of the brain inflammation, which they found out you had brain inflammation. So.
And that's why they tried IVIG, which is $50K a pop, all these different things. terrifying. I just remember I messed up. I think the saddest thing is, and I know there's so much information now about side effects and informed consent. And, you know, again, I'm just everybody. I wish I knew what I knew now. The craziest thing was, and the saddest thing, and this is why I praise God for you, there is no information that actually works on how to get over it once you screwed up. And the problem is nobody knows what to do once they screwed up, and they try diet, they try zeolites, they're trying everything under the sun. And I can imagine how my parents felt in that moment, and even myself, because I was old enough and had enough understanding to know I messed up, but I did not know what to do.
Yeah.
And so it's scary.
Yeah, it is. All right, so we know, right?
Yes.
It's like, even if these infections aren't the thing that made you sick, because you had a lot of things, it will keep people from getting well, because these pathogens can hide there, and every best effort, all the ozone, all the things just won't touch it. Learned it the hard way myself, right? So, but that was one thing. And then we were concerned about the home you were in, low grade.
There was mold.
The low grade mold exposures, which again, maybe low grade wouldn't make you sick, but once you have all these stressors, now become a big stressor. And again, until we deal with that stress, this stress, we have to keep peeling it back to get your immune system up to be able to combat these things on its own.
And that's why I appreciated you and your expertise so much, because I couldn't even jump into that surgery. You have to be healthy enough to heal and grow bone back. You have such a protocol and expertise on how to lead people through preparing, opening pathways, getting to the cell membrane, lowering inflammation, making sure there aren't other upstream interferences. And what I mean by that is dental infections, the mold in your home, the metal exposures. You addressed all of that in such a pattern where I wasn't, something I hear from clients a lot and people can relate to is the detox reaction. I'm going to get so sick. Isn't that a sign, right? You should not become that unfunctional where your body isn't eliminating. And so you have such an art to it and science backed on what you teach that it made such a difference. And I think the cool thing is I remember seeing those small wins. I didn't care because I'd been sick for so long that I wasn't better overnight. Those small wins you hang on to because I knew I was headed in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And it was so encouraging.
You know, here's the failure of most functional alternative medicine. Number one, they try to detox people without getting to the real causes, right? Which we're talking about. Someone could be in a moldy home
R1, remove the source.
That's my R's that I teach.
I'm a mini Pompa now.
Exactly. You know, it's like they don't even ask them about the homes they're living in. They don't even ask them about, you know,
why do you think they
cavitation.
Don't?
What's that?
Why do you think they don't?
I mean, I hope it's just them not knowing, because maybe it's hard. Maybe it's too hard, right? Because to ask people about their home means you have to walk them through a process of doing something about it. To ask people about their dental work or send them out, a lot of alternative doctors don't like send people out because they feel like it's going to add expense and then they're not going to do what they do.
I was going to say expertise, and it's not a good business model.
Yeah, exactly.
To get people fully
that
better.
Is why. Yeah, so the alternative field's kind of broken there where they don't make referrals correctly. And they don't ask the upstream questions. I mean, I have had people go to the most popular alternative doctors you can think of, and they're doing things, and they never even looked in their mouth to see that they have a silver amalgam filling, which is part of how I got sick, 50% mercury in their mouth. And you've been seeing them for how many years? And you still have silver fillings in your mouth, meaning they didn't even ask them the question, let alone cavitation, let alone my house, let alone, you know, all these other mercury or heavy metal exposures, because you had all of them. You had heavy metals. No one asked you about your sources there, right?
Mercury, and I forgot to chronic candida.
Chronic candida.
That was so
again,
bad.
People that have mercury end up with chronic candida problems.
Because it kills the good bacteria and it suppresses the immune system. No wonder I had chronic Lyme. No wonder I had chronic Epstein-Barr. And I remember my test would come back and I kept thinking, oh, this is the root cause because mercury goes to the blood-brain barrier. Is it 48 hours it crosses or after the exposure?
Oh yeah, I mean it can start crossing almost immediately in certain aspects. So,
but that can go to the pituitary. And I remember always getting tests like, oh, your HPA HPA axis is messed up. Your pituitary, your thyroid, your hormones and adrenals are messed up.
By the way, alternative doctors, they treat that, treat that, more hormones, more. It's like, no, see, that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
The mercury accumulated in my pituitary. And then here's the other problem with alternative medicine. They're putting people on these ridiculous detoxes. They're not getting to where it really is.
Yeah.
They're not even removing the sources. And they're trying to detox people with detoxes that don't get to the cellular level, doesn't even get to the stuff that's deep in the tissue like the brain. And they are spinning their wheels, wasting more money.
Yeah.
So
and then you get on the hormones, and then there's those side effects. And so I think that was one of the most insightful things when I met with you, is you were able to look at this and say, oh, this is why your thyroid, hormones, pituitary, and adrenals, it meshed and made sense with what I had already uncovered. But you know how you hoped that doctor would piece together your puzzle for you? You pieced together my puzzle for me. And there were so many core beliefs I already had that, oh, I know this is messed up and I know that's messed up. And not everybody, full transparency, gets these diagnoses. The only reason I got those POTS and stuff is because I went to these doctors who were good at diagnosing, but then the only treatment was medications or supplements.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's not removing. And so I always joke, what you do is the unsexy stuff. It's not a great business model, but it works. And the testimonies are crazy.
Yeah, and I have so much criticism for where functional medicine has gone, because they're not asking questions to get to the real cause. They're not getting it the correct way. Like the way they do heavy metal detox is dangerous. Doesn't work at best. And the way they even deal with mycotoxins, as they're called, people with mold illness and other infections, just trying to kill the infection instead of asking why it came in the first place. Big disaster. I want to go back just to make the argument of how these infections in the mouth, just to close that loop, how devastating they are. Because you got a few of these infections taken out. You walked out without knee pain for the first time, joint pain for the first time in like many years, right, since you had been sick. And then it was months later, it came back and you went to the dentist. I think the infection's back. They said, no, it couldn't be. And you insisted. They went back in and they found more infection. Literally, your knee pain, your joint pain came back as literally a sign. You were the only one saying, I know it's back because my pain's back. They went in and that you were right. And that actually happened a couple times because you weren't, to your point, you weren't healthy enough to build bone yet. We've learned a lot, by the way. We know how to build bone better now.
You won't hopefully go through that like I did. I was just so immunocompromised, and I just had so much going on. I lived in mold. I had these infections for years of my life. I'm so immunocompromised. I'm trying to heal from these surgeries. I wasn't taking all the things I was supposed to take. And so I think if I can tell anybody anything, you want to save time, energy, and money, just like work with the experts who have gotten the results and know what you're doing, like you. But it was really encouraging because even I want to share my dad's success story. My dad loved this guy. Okay, he still drinks his Mountain Dew, his Doritos. We love you, Brian. But
Brian's her dad.
Brian, we love
so
Brian.
Brian's the guy that didn't get it. Okay, well, listen to this part of the story.
This is exciting. And so full transparency, and I think this is why it's exciting, is his bucket hasn't tipped yet. He started having some hip pain, potentially looking at a hip replacement. His bread and butter is golf. He loves golf so much. He will do anything for golf. He will use a red light he never thought he would use. And so he's then telling his friends about it. He's sharing how this red light changed his life. And he's considering a hip replacement. And he has a couple root canals. And he saw my journey on how, I have no joint pain, wear my rings, can wear my necklace, my knees aren't swollen. And I got rid of it by getting to the dental stuff. So I was like, just before you try the hip replacement, please just go see my dentist that Dr. Pompa referred me to get your root canal out. He did the proper...
He only went because of her.
Oh, yeah. I begged him.
And your mom, probably.
Oh, yeah. My mom's in his ear. Yeah. You need to do this. You need to do this. So he flew out from Indiana by himself. I actually ran into him. I think I had Dove, and he was here with Chandler getting it done. And he got it removed. And I remember he texted me, is this a placebo effect? Because I feel great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, of course no, I'm kidding. It's not a placebo effect, of course. And so he had no hip pain.
Yeah.
And he didn't even do everything right.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing.
He didn't want to believe it.
Something. I've had that happen. There's a reason for that, because when you get these infections, his was a lot of root canals, which, by the way, hide these infections as well. And there's a meridian, a nerve meridian on every tooth. And when you literally, when you take that infection out, that nerve meridian literally reconnects. So we've had people say, I felt literally reconnected to my body in the dental chair. You know, it's like, and that doesn't happen all the time, but man, when it does, it's dramatic, and it happened to him.
It's crazy. I didn't even want to believe it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get too hopeful. But I just remember, oh my gosh, this is the first time I'm walking up the stairs without joint pain. I can't imagine having, and this is where my heart goes out, and praise God for you and your process and your team members and the method, because the amount of people, I didn't go through my journey when I was a mom and when I was married. And so to get better and not have to worry about that with our daughter Dove, like Daniel and I, it like makes me so emotional, because I'll have moms say, hey, I had to stop working. I can't take care of my kids, or I'm really struggling to take care of my kids. And that's similar to your journey, to walk through that as a mom or a husband, to be chronically ill, then have your kids. It's another level of pain.
It is. Yeah, it totally
It
is.
really is.
Yeah, you know, it's like, I always thought, I guess that's why I was trying to push Marilee away. You know, if I was single, but you know, it would have been easier, but I still had my boys that I was disappointing, you know. Fast forward, I'm now working with my kids, right?
Yeah.
How many adults can say that?
Yeah.
You know, they're helping me take a message to the world, which was prophetic words spoken over my life. When I was sick, my wife on her knees many times, this particular time, she literally heard God speak to her as clear as she says, I'm speaking right now, that not only am I going to get him well, meaning me, but he's going to take a message to the world.
Yeah.
Didn't want to hear it, but here we are. You know, and in that taking the message to the world, you know, it's Daniel, you know, has been a big part of that. So her husband, my son, really with his brilliance on social media, how to reach people through social media, is how we're taking a message to the world. Pain to purpose. That's where this whole thing came from. So my wife was right, or God was right through her. You know, we're taking a message to the world. Pain to purpose. You're taking a message to the world. You know how many people work in Pompa Program that have had their story now and are helping us take a message to the world? And I always say this, I would never say we have every answer, but we have something the world desperately needs right now. When I was sick, started in 1999 and, you know, early 2000s, people didn't have the brain fog, the weird anxiety, the sleep problems, the weird, I mean, of course, some people had it, obviously, I was one of them, but meaning to the level of what it is today, you know, God showed me everything. And that's why I take no pride in it. He showed me everything for this, right?
Well, think about it. You lost your life before many other people lost theirs at a younger age. And because you walked through that journey, you are able to help so many moms, dads, wives, husbands, like daughters, brothers, like sons, because of how terrible that was. Your information and training these doctors and even helping me, like, think about this. Okay, you helped me. Now people are stopping me saying I'm helping them. I'm moving them forward on the front lines on a consult to get healthy.
Yeah.
And that's just because of you listening to God. And it's a very humbling moment. And like you said, it's not you. It's not your own strength. I had no expertise. I should not have been hired. Technically,
Tell them what I said.
We have fun stories.
She comes to my son and she's like, "I want to do that."
No, I didn't. I actually didn't.
Did he come to you?
Daniel goes, "You would be great."
Okay, I did. Yeah. Okay.
And so I was like, I think I was like intimidated by you a little bit, and
well, because I was your, you know, doctor.
You just saved my life.
Yeah.
That's a big freaking deal. And so Daniel's like, "You should do this. I think you might be good." And I'm like, "Great, I'm broke. Sure, I'm 19. Like, I'm going to go to college. Sure, this transformed my life." So then Daniel goes to you. He's like, "I think Ava should maybe try consulting and da-da-da-da." And what did you say? You said...
I said, "Oh my God, she's like a cheerleader." You know, meaning like, she's like, who's going to take the high school cheerleader that serious is what I was saying. So I said, that's not a good idea. Well, somehow it happened even without,
Daniel's persistent.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, he already was running the show. So that's my son, Daniel.
He did say, "We'll give her a chance." And there was 2 other people. And if they're not as good as the 2 other people at the time, in the first week, she's cut. Don't worry. And there was no training.
Yeah.
No process.
No.
And these two also were like in Utah. So they're buddy. They have each other to help out. And I'm like at home in Indiana. Uh-oh. Okay. So this is high stakes.
All right.
Let's do this. And it just took
Well, because I as soon as I heard you on with a client looking to get their life back.
So he listened to my calls too.
Yeah.
Guys.
And
Imagine
I
that.
heard her. I'm like, oh my gosh, pain to purpose. I mean, she's like, let me tell you when I felt that way. Let me tell you, it's like, sure, because this is why I became effective.
Yeah.
Is because I got sick.
Yeah.
And now I'm before the same people, same thing, right? And
Yeah.
her job wasn't to coach them
Yes.
through at that point. She was just meeting them where they are to tell her story.
Yep.
But I promised them this. Okay, so how did you end up getting together with my son? Okay, let me tell the first part about it. Okay,
You
so
go.
Daniel, my son, comes to me, and I can always tell Daniel has a little Cheshire grin. He comes to me with that. And I'm like, he's like, I'm going to Indiana, and he has that grin. I'm like, Indiana? Like, why are you going to Indiana? And he goes to meet somebody.
Vague.
Who lives in Indiana? And one of your clients, I'm like, and then immediately I'm like, Ava, I'm like, oh, no. I'm sad. I said, this is, what I said? I'm like, this is a good family. Meaning you're going to ruin this family maybe. I'm like, this is a good family. I'm like, no way, man. No, Daniel, that's not professional. I'm like, no way. Right. So, I mean, my son was just not in the place that I thought he was going to treat a woman good or a girl good. I'm like, oh, no. So I'm like, Daniel, he was going, right? So I'm like, you better have the right intentions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to make me look bad, our family look bad. So he went. What happened next? Because I don't know.
I think this is one of the sweetest moments, and I love hearing your perspective from. She comes from a good family. I like her and her family. Maybe not, because it's like he's young and it is this serious. You're going far out. I hadn't had a long-term boyfriend. I was very, very picky. And I don't know if you know this. I tried to cancel the day of.
Oh no,
he was on his layover, and
Yeah.
I stopped responding, and I was like, "Are you in the air?" And he's like, "Why?" He's like, I knew you were trying to cancel. My mom's like, you cannot do that, Ava. Be nice. Because if I'm going to be completely honest, I just wasn't looking for a relationship. But he was very pursuing, and we had everything. Imagine, he lives in Utah. I live in Indiana. I don't know if this is serious. He randomly one night, we just started talking. And this is actually a funny story because you and I would still be on our doctor calls. I'm mostly better. I'm doing better. But we're still maintenance plan, meeting with you. I'm like, I don't know if he knows Daniel's calling me every night for 5 hours.
I didn't know.
FaceTiming.
Boy, I didn't know. Okay,
Hour.
let me tell you part of the story that I think you know this. Okay, so here's the part of the story. So I communicate with someone on something called Voxer. Anyways.
Any health coach would know.
Right, so I'm actually going to see something. I don't even know if the same picture's there,
no.
but okay.
16,
It is.
16-year-old
Oh,
me.
yeah, but you can't see it. Okay, there's this cute
input.
picture next to her. You can't see it, so
We'll
you
pull
can't
it
follow it. Yeah. Anyways, and so I wish I could pull that up. But anyways, my wife said, I said, oh, look how cute Ava is, right? And my wife's like, yeah. And then she showed I think it was my son, Isaac was there. I think Daniel was there. Look how cute Ava is, kids, right? And she shows them the picture of Ava. Okay, obviously they were like, oh. So, we wondered, how, that ended up happening. Did he reach out to you? Did you message?
I'll tell this story, and
Yeah.
I learned about this later. Daniel DM'd me, but I had requested to follow him. I never messaged, but because you had asked me to pray for him when his own journey about breaking his back and the cliff jumping. But funny enough, when he told me that story, it was 3 months into us chatting, dating, talking. I'm gonna be completely open. He's like, I want to get married. I love that. He was guns a-blazing. And I remember he said he was falling in love. This is so crazy. We can edit. He was falling in love with me the first trip. And I remember sitting there and I said, thanks. And he to this now we can talk about it. He's like, I was devastated. I went home thinking you don't like me.
Thanks.
I wouldn't. And my point being is I wasn't healthy. I hadn't met you yet. I wanted this, I wasn't sure. But funny enough, when he told me the story about the Voxer photo, Marilee had showed them, like your wife, Mrs. Pompa.
Yeah.
She showed them a photo of me, and Daniel's like jokingly, I'm 17, he's 19, we're 2 years apart, jokingly said, oh, give her 2 years. We met 2 years later.
Oh, wow.
Literally, 1921. And then Marilee goes, no, she's for Isaac.
It's
and that
so
was because
funny.
we're the same age.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think that. I haven't even heard that part of the story.
The first thing Isaac says to me when I get to your guys' house, I don't know if you know this, you chose the wrong brother.
No
and
kidding.
I was like, what are you thinking? And it was a joke.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
These people are funny. This is crazy.
These people are funny. That's so funny. We're a very open family.
You guys they're funny. They have a really, really cool dynamic.
Yeah, it's a very open family. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't fight over you at that point. It was God's will. I mean, God had purpose in it. He really did.
Totally.
You know, it's funny. I think Daniel jokes about this, so I'm not being too out of form. He's like, if maybe, because I make comments like, dude, you got, what are you signing up for? She's sick. She's not healed yet. I'm like, it's like, and Daniel says, I probably should have read page 4 of the notes, HIPAA violation. If I'd have just went in your office and pulled her note file,
He wouldn't have gotten, and he would joke, I'm looking at your file. And I remember getting a text and I'm like, what the hell? Like my file? What's in my file? What is Dr. Pompa telling him? I was scared, but it was totally a God thing. And I think it was so cool is because I will say this, he was very gentleman, got an Airbnb for 5 nights, did not stay together. We didn't live together before we got married. So like, I think, God aligned a lot of things. And so maybe it saved me. I was going to go to college. My philosophy in my head, pendulum was I lost out. Let me make up for lost time. And I still had really strong values and morals, but college isn't the best environment.
Yeah.
It's a party.
Yeah.
So
all worked out.
Shifted.
Fast forward, you start doing the right detox.
Yes.
Right? We identified the sources. Remove the sources, right? Figured out, no wonder you have chronic candida, no wonder you have chronic Lyme, Epstein-Barr, et cetera. Beat back those, but ultimately getting rid of these sources allowed your body to finally get through them, right? It was like when I had, my mercury levels were so high, I beat back parasites and candida constantly.
And people measure that wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. The urine test, there's a challenge test that you can do properly. The only thing is it doesn't show what's in the brain tissue.
Exactly. Heavy metals we're talking about. Yeah. Yes. It doesn't show what's in the brain. And that's typically why people are sick unexplainably. Right. So I'm always like, the best heavy metal test, unless you're doing biopsying the brain, that's where it is. That's where it was in me.
Yep.
The first place we accumulate mercury, Drash study, it's a study, German study, but it showed that the number of silver fillings mom has is proportional to how much ends up in the brain.
Baby's brain. And they did
in
those
the baby's
autopsies.
brain, autopsy studies, very accurate. And that's where I started accumulating from my mom, only to wear contact lenses, which had thimerosal, same thing was in the flu shots. And of course, I had some flu shots. Of course, I had all these other exposures. And of course, I had a mouthful of silver fillings, which was leaching mercury into the brain. And the problem is until I got it out safely, correctly, and that's what I teach. The only reason I know how to do it is because I had to save my own life. That's when I got my life back. That's when I regulated my thyroid. That's when I regulated my adrenals.
All those symptoms.
And that was a big part of getting you well too. We had to get the mercury loads out, the heavy metal loads
I don't have chronic, I'm going to be so open with you guys. I had chronic candida so bad, chronic yeast infections, skin issues, open sores on my face. If I had the tiniest bit of fruit, I would get thrush on my tongue, full flare up, chronic bloating. I lost 20 pounds. I eat sugar. You know me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She likes it.
I like sugar. Well, and it's like I'm gonna be so real. I had to be so strict for so long, carnivore, seizures, that I like the food freedom I have now. Yeah. And there's times to be stricter, and I still live my life differently on the GMOs and the seed oils and organic. But what I reversed is pretty remarkable. This is all my own hair. My no antibodies on my thyroid, or they're undetectable. They were like 1 or 2.
Yeah, she was full-blown Hashi.
Full-blown Hashi, face swelling, lost the weight. I had open sores, joint pain, no brain swelling. Every diagnosis I got I don't have anymore, which is unheard of. Yeah. Unheard of.
That's when that's what I want people to hear, because that gives them hope. That's it. That's the pain to purpose. That's why I do this, right? I want people to hear the other stories to have hope, because I didn't have a lot of stories that I heard.
Did you look for the testimonials when you were sick?
I wanted to know, man. I did. I wanted to talk to people. I would sit in people's waiting rooms, like hoping to hear someone exactly like myself that said, I'm better. And unfortunately, I didn't have that. So, you
created that though for other people.
Yeah, no, I believe that. It is my story that probably has helped more people because it gave them hope. And yours, Well,
your story, and then all the coaches and the leadership and the team members that you've helped, you've created an arsenal of testimonials that you didn't have and I didn't really have. I remember even looking still online. This was before Pompa Program was brought to, the public, which is amazing. Wish that, it happened the way it needed to happen, but that is just the coolest thing ever because now you can look on and there's arsenals of just testimonials. There's so many stories I could have related to, but I would Google late at night, just searching for answers, anybody like me. And I'm going to be so open. The amount of Facebook groups I joined that are so depressing with the diagnoses I gained, nobody ever got better. I remember reading this and like, I'm screwed. No. They're still sick and they're still in there. And so it was really encouraging even to connect with you on, like, I saw your life quality. I wanted life quality. I didn't want just like, okay. I can work out. Just things I never dreamed of.
Yeah. I always say I'm healthier at 60 than I was in my 30s.
You're 60?
Yeah, the November 4th. I'm 60. She didn't know that I'm 60.
I did. He looks great. That's what don't get Botox.
But honestly though, I literally take tests to show cellular age versus actual age, and I have de-aged through the years.
Yeah.
My cellular age, when I remember the first cellular age test I took, I was 14 years older than my cellular age. My actual age, I'm sorry. My cellular age was 14 years older than my actual age. And that was because of my sickness, right? It literally knocked me back. And over the years, obviously, I still detox. I still do what got my life better. I just do it more randomly. But the level of toxins we're exposed to, yes, ages prematurely. Yes, are causing the thyroid conditions, the numbers that we're seeing, the hormone-related problems, weight loss resistance, all the anxiety, sleep problems. It is a toxic problem. That's why when people, 20 years ago, people could change their diet.
And they're better.
Yeah, and they're better. It's not that way today because it is the toxic exposures that are aging people prematurely. Anyways, the point is that, doing that, my cellular age is like, I'm way better. I think the last one I did was I'm 11 years younger at the cellular age than my actual age. So
talk about a testimony there. Yeah, that's encouraging.
Yeah. So
man, and so even subclinical, because something you brought up I thought was really powerful. Hypothyroidism is typically undiagnosed, I will say, subclinical, because so many they've moved the levels of what's okay, and they've changed it to this is okay, even though it's not ideal.
That's right.
And so it took even a long time to show my thyroid issues, but I was dealing with constipation, puffiness, paleness.
I had every symptom of thyroid. I went and I got a thyroid test and my blood work was normal. Tell them why that might be. Or here's what happens. People go to their doctor. Maybe they're out of range finally, right? Having symptoms of thyroid conditions, the hair, the skin, the constipation, the no energy, the weight gain, unexplainable. And they go, okay, you're out of range. They give them thyroid hormone, makes their blood work better, but they're not better. I'm just going to test her here because tell them why that might be.
Well,
let's see you do it.
It is do you have a board?
Yeah, exactly. Normally I'm drawing a cell. Exactly. You're right. Yeah.
So it's a cellular issue. And the way I always like to explain it is so many people know insulin resistance, right? That's in vogue. It's common now. The insulin isn't getting into the cell, right? The same way with thyroid hormones, hormone medications, even supplements, right? If it's not getting into the cell, the T4, which is levosynthroid, not getting into the cell, not converting to T3, those hormone receptors are blunted. From
T3 is the active form that is designed to get in the cell. But
that's what makes you feel good. If it's not getting in on those hormone receptors to give the message to your body, you're not able to lose weight, your hair is falling out, you're puffy, you feel like crap, you're also not detoxing. And so people who have chronic inflammation on the cell membrane, which is your test, that is what I did, they're not methylating. And so I always get the conversation with a husband and wife, why do I have this exposure and I'm not as sick, right, as my wife? But the problem is once that cell inflammation is there and elevated, you're not getting the good in.
The cellular inflammation is what damages and blocks those hormone receptors, right? So that's why your blood work could be normal or made normal, taking a hormone. And if it can't get in the cell, inflammation blocks that, right? So what drives that inflammation?
Toxins.
Yeah. She did. You know, that was fun because normally I'm the one saying that. And I wanted her to because I'm like, she's going to say it so much more simple than me. So let's just, yeah.
Well, it's simplified.
That's beautiful. That was beautiful, by the way. Perfect. So, yeah.
Maybe that's my superpower. I don't have I mean, truly, you inspired me. I wanted to go into nursing before I did this. I wanted to go into school. I'm like, I'm going to do nursing, some type of integrative, a nurse. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to be in integrative health because of you and because of how you transformed my life. And then I quickly realized I'm still then kind of part of the managing issue. That didn't align. And so God really connected and gave me an opportunity to give people, just be a small catalyst into a long lasting solution, because I don't want people to manage. And I just know there's so much more out there with everything that you've taught me.
Yeah.
So it's life changing. And I think that's the encouraging thing. Like, you're not broken. If you are sick, here's my pet peeve. People will say, I've tried everything. No, you haven't if you're still sick. You haven't gotten to the cell.
What do I always
Sorry.
What I always teach my doctors, if someone's not getting well, you miss something upstream.
Yes. Yeah. And that was my story. It wasn't all butterflies and roses, but it worked. And there's so much, like, if you are struggling to get better, there's an upstream interference missed at the cell in the brain. If you've been told you've detoxed and you're still sick, probably didn't do it the right way.
And most people, we just start with a cellular inflammation test. If your cells are inflamed, 9 times out of 10, it's mostly caused by certain toxins. And if your cell's inflamed, your hormones aren't working right. If your cell's inflamed, you're right. Diet change doesn't work. Supplements doesn't work, because an inflamed cell, you can't get in the cell. So
right. And even if you're doing stuff that works, you're not absorbing it, or you're managing. So it's expensive to manage. Like, think about the Rife machine or ozone. Okay, kills the bacteria, helps the inflammation short term. You're not removing. So then the problem is you're still accumulating, and then your body's not methylating, because that's the other thing that's involved. Oh, you're not methylating, you're not methylating.
Right.
Take a B vitamin. Here's a methylated B vitamin.
Right. Yeah.
Managing.
If it were only that, if it were only that simple, right? Just managing, not getting to the cause why you're not methylating. It's not as simple as a gene. When people aren't methylating to get rid of toxins, to help get rid of toxic hormones, literally their stress bucket is full, wasting their methylation, and now they become methyl depleted. Gene or no gene, we have to always deal with the methylation as part of the process. But if you don't deal with the upstream issue, by the way, that was my wife, Marilee. That was her thing. She was having all hormone related problems. She was going to end up just like her mother, who had breast cancer, then ended up dying of uterine cancer. She had massive methylation. If you deplete your methylation, you don't get rid of toxic hormones, something called hormone metabolites. They build up and they can drive breast cancer and other cancers. And we were looking at her hormone test going, she's methyl depleted. So we were trying to give her all the B vitamins, all the methyl stuff. Wasn't working. Only to find out later she had massive lead levels off the chart. And by the way, that's why your husband had so many gut issues, because he literally inherited her lead. Long story. But the fact is the lead was depleting the methylation. My wife has no genotype for poor methylation. None. And yet she was depleted because of the amount of lead. Once we got the lead down, her methylation came up and her toxic hormones depleted.
And so many people don't know that you can remove. They think the methylation is the root cause.
That's right.
And that there's something driving the methylation issue. And when you remove that, like you said, she's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, exactly. I say all that, maybe you say all that, because functional medicine has put all this thing around the test and around methylation, around parasites,
which is expensive,
around candida.
And inaccurate.
But none of it, the candida, the parasites, the methylation, all that is downstream from getting to the toxins at the cellular level. You know, that's what God showed me. That's what I've taught for how many years.
Can I ask you a question? This would have been helpful to me. What are some red flags of detoxes? And I put like quotations that you should look out for of, oh, that's not it.
Well, I mean, I think they're told that things like certain herbs, chlorella, cilantro, right? Those things are going to chelate heavy metals. It's not true. They're weak bind. They actually make it worse. IV chelation makes it worse, right? I mean, IV chelation puts a lot in and then redistribution. And that's why you read the horror
Used
stories.
out of its half-life.
And then I think that, and I love saunas, but it's not that simple, right? And then people take those box cleanses out of the
Supports
office.
downstream box cleanses.
Yeah.
I even heard last night, we were at an event. Daniel was there, and your son Simon as well. And I'm talking to this young man who, he's doing a Rife machine for a heavy metal detox.
Is he the guy I sent over to talk to you?
Yeah.
So he comes to me, Dr. Pompa, right? And he's like having this conversation.
He was
And I'm
starstruck.
like,
He asked for a selfie.
I'm like,
and
you need to
did
talk to Ava. I just happened to be at the same event.
So he was starstruck. He was so excited to talk to you. And so I'm connecting with him, going to send him a test kit, get him on with like a senior advisor. And I'm asking him about what he's doing. And he's like, oh, I'm doing a Rife machine for heavy metal detox. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, he came up to me and said, I have Lyme, I have Epstein-Barr.
Chronic
And I'm
PPD.
like, talk to Ava. Yeah.
That was a big part of my journey. And so I asked him, like, oh, like, how does this? I'm like, it's just best to be curious and ask them some questions up front. I'm like, how does this Rife machine detox? He's like, oh, the frequencies explode the heavy metal and it is flushed from your body.
These are the things that drive me nuts, because these are the things that get started in alternative medicine that are just, it's just crap. I don't even know where some of these things start, right? And it's like, but they don't go away.
Yeah.
And people get deceived by them. I was, right? I mean, I'm not being critical here. I went a lot of those routes only to be more frustrated, only to realize that nothing that I felt lasted.
Yeah.
And I was still sick because not one person asked me about the upstream causes. It was a darn endocrinologist that said, and I said, where do you think I go? Because I ended up doing a better test, right? And he said, well, that test might not show it, but it did show enough that
the fact that it was still elevated just shows how toxic and how much was in the cell.
But exactly. And I had a lot of other mercury, other metals that showed that there might be a problem me getting rid of it because my pathway shut down towards.
Well, wait, that's a good point. So it gets elevated when you have all these heavy metals and have the cellular inflammation, because doesn't the heavy metals replace other minerals so you become deficient?
Yeah, yep. It does. It replaces where minerals go. But the fact is my body shut down getting rid of them. So I saw this odd, elevation.
Yeah.
Right. So then I asked him the question, where do you think I got it? First question, this is an endocrinologist. You know what he said?
What?
Do you have any dental work done around the time this came?
Hey, good job.
And I did.
Is he still
I
around?
had 2 silver fillings removed, and it was days later that just fatigue started. I want people to hear this. Like we have dramatic stories, but most people that end up going like, what is wrong with my life? It starts with fatigue. It goes to like just weird gut problems, food sensitivities, brain fog, a little bit of anxiety, can't sleep like I used to, wiped out all the, that's where it all starts. And that is the first sign of symptoms that says there is something toxic wrong. And then, looking upstream from there. Let me ask you a question, because I always say that thyroid right now has blown up with the amount of problems in the last 10 years. I want to ask you, why do you think that is? And then explain what the canary in the coal mine means. I keep testing her because I like hearing it from her better than me. These are things that I've said for years.
It's like the feminine simplified.
You're so knowledgeable about it. I think they're going to hear it better from you.
I learned it from you and just different, I've learned so much from you, but you said why so many people have
thyroid is just exploded in the last 10 years.
Well, it goes with the other thing you asked about, the thyroid, the canary in the coal mine. It's one of the most sensitive glands. It's usually the first to be affected by neurotoxins.
Bang.
So it's the first to go, which makes sense, right, guys? Because it's stored in the pituitary when these exposures cross the blood-brain barrier, right?
And the pituitary controls your thyroid and your adrenals.
And your hormones.
And
Yeah,
exactly.
all of it. And everybody thinks that's the issue, right? But it is a symptom of dysfunction and of an interference there. And so then you're getting all these symptoms, which are incredibly common. I look at all of my friends, every single one, not every single one, a lot, typically have paleness, constipation. That's a big one. Just like puffiness, cold extremities, low body temperature. If you're dealing with that and your blood work's normal, you are 1,000% probably dealing with subclinical hypothyroidism,
Absolutely.
which is a symptom. And so even if you're put on the medication or the hormone, not many people don't feel better because it's not the active hormone and it's not getting into the cell. So it's booming because of this toxic issue. And then because people want to demonize one thing, glyphosate, birth control, it's all of it. All of it together goes deeper. And I don't even demonize one part of my journey. It was a catalyst where the vaccine and these infections were something that tipped my bucket and turned on those genes where, things are really bad,
Yep.
but it was what accumulated over time, and removing it is how I got better.
That's when we say bucket, it accumulates, and then one day the bucket overflows of toxins, and that's when all the symptoms start.
Yep.
Do you know the analogy? Because she's so young, so this is kind of, this
no.
might be funny, I don't know. The analogy of what,
Do you know how old I
canary in a
am?
coal mine.
Because I don't know how old you are.
Yeah, she already proved that, you know, I'm going to say 24.
Yeah, I'm 24. Good job. I'm
I
25.
knew her age. She
Wait,
didn't know mine.
we're soon. I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were younger than you were, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Okay, canary in the coal mine, though. This will date you. What's it mean? What's the analogy?
Feel uninformed. Canary in the coal mine. I'm sorry, I have no idea.
Okay, no one her age group probably knows this, but literally they used to bring canaries, real
I've heard
real
you
birds.
say this.
Okay, now you're triggering it. They would bring them into the coal mines, and they were
See if they die.
They were so
Okay.
sensitive to toxins, literally gases, and the canary would die. The miners had time to get out. And now we have a sophisticated equipment that, you know, detects these things. But, you know, miners would die all the time. I shouldn't say all the time, but it was a more frequent thing because of gases that would come in, and the canaries would save their life. So your thyroid is that sensitive. That's why thyroid conditions, because toxicity has elevated so much in the last 20 years, let alone 10 years, in that we have all these thyroid conditions. And yet people are trying to get their thyroid better by taking hormones. I mean, there's a time and a place, by taking this supplement, that supplement, or whatever they're doing. But unless you get to the toxic sources at the cellular level, 20 years of teaching doctors this, you're not going to fix the thyroid. That your Hashimoto's reversed. Your thyroid condition reversed because we got to the causes. Simple as that. I mean, it's not rocket science.
You'd think it is. Can you debunk? This is something I've heard, and I've had just my even who was it? One of my friends reached out and asked a question that people have been saying, and I've seen this with different, I don't even want to say experts because I don't think they're experts. They're just on Instagram. But they're saying that minerals will detox heavy metals. Why does that not?
No, well, it's not that simple. A mineral can replace, so heavy metals can come in and replace a mineral.
Okay.
Like there's an exchange. But the problem is it can be the opposite. You could take minerals and then knock off a heavy metal. But the problem is someone who's really heavy metal toxic, they don't have the ability to get rid of them. So it creates more redistribution. So a lot of people take minerals and actually get symptoms. So, and they go, yeah, when I take something like, you know, I don't feel as good or something because it's displacing and redistributing the metals. So if it were only that simple. Now, as we're detoxing correctly, using the right true chelators. And again, what I teach is real detox is a cellular issue. You have to upregulate what's broke. Like when I said metals were accumulating, because my cells were broken, meaning their ability to get rid of toxins. And by the way, you're not just accumulating heavy metals. Now you start accumulating all toxins because the cell is designed to get rid of them day in, day out. But once they get exhausted, just to speak simply, right?
Yeah.
Now, unless we fix that exhausted cell, now we don't really detox. So all the saunas, all the foot baths, all the things don't work. All the minerals.
But even
don't work.
scientifically, if we look at where it's stored and how it's removed from the body, if anybody actually dug into that, and I know Andy Cutler is somebody that I
give him
doesn't
credit.
make sense.
I give him credit for understanding half-life.
Yeah.
He was a PhD, right? So
Yeah.
he wasn't really a treating doctor, but he spoke at many of my early seminars about people taking chelators, incorrectly, doing IV, for example, taking some chelators once a day, twice a day. You have to take them within their half-life.
Right.
So I always give Andy credit there.
And it's not common knowledge, but like what I was going to say with what you're talking about, if anybody got into some of this basic science on how chelators work, how binders work, and where these exposures are stored, they would know that the minerals in the foot bath and all this stuff doesn't work, but it's not talked about.
I always say that scientists, I was with literally 3 scientists yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And I always enjoy my conversation more there. They get it more than doctors. Alternative medicine, it seems like the same things perpetuate.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what happens in government. Fat's bad, and it's just,
Yeah.
government, fat's still bad. Well, the same thing happens in alternative medicine, especially with detox. But, scientists get the fact that it's not that simple to do that. I want to point something out. It's not as simple as just taking chelators either.
For sure.
Yeah, because most chelators, even taken correctly, it still doesn't solve the problem that's happening in the cell. You were so broken of what was happening in your cells. Of course you weren't methylating.
Yeah.
Of course you had massive inflammation. Your hormones weren't working, this and that. But we had to fix all of those detox pathways. Once that gets fixed now, and we get upstream to the source, now we can get someone well. And that's
For
how you
sure.
got your life back.
That is how I
That's
got my life back. And that was even encouraging to be. One of my good friends just took the test, and she ended up going to Cleveland Clinic and was diagnosed with dysautonomia and all these other conditions. And she actually hasn't gotten to the cellular side of things yet. And so it's kind of hard, I'd say, seeing somebody that you can help go through this journey of just like being told different things by doctors. But truly, if we're not addressing the cell and that's elevated and those interferences are there, you will struggle for a long time and waste a lot of time, energy, and money. And I did that myself. And so it's like, if that's elevated, there is so much healing. I give a simple analogy, truly. Like, think about it like this. I ended up doing stem cells. I ended up doing a lot of really great fancy protocols, IV ozone, coffee enemas, rectal ozone. I was not above anything. I would do anything.
I was the same.
Anything. And so think about it like this. If we have a bullet wound, right? What is the first thing that we need to do to actually help healing? Remove the bullet.
Remove the bullet.
Yeah, remove the bullet.
Then you deal with pathogens, right?
Then you deal, well, like, think about it. Like, we're almost going to a bullet wound, and here's some stem cells, here's some ozone. Here, it's still going to get infected.
Let me give you antibiotics because we see pathogens occurring. Let me kill the pathogens.
Yeah.
Well, wait, the bullet's still there.
Yeah, nobody's removing it. And so you will struggle to get better and to get the results that you're looking for. And I think the saddest part about this is I thought I was getting to the root cause, like many other people, and I wasn't.
Yeah. I think that's a great place to stop because we left at my favorite place, right? If you get to the cause, God designed our bodies to heal. But that's forgotten today, even in alternative medicine. And that's irritating. Yeah. It really is. And that's why so many people are looking, and looking and trying and spending a lot of money because they're not getting to the cause.
And you're in a desperate spot.
Yep.
You're in a low moment. You're vulnerable. You're confused. You're overwhelmed. You're sick. You're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I'd say pray about it. And I mean, really, truly, your body, you're not broken. If you are still sick, there is a reason you're still sick. If you remove these interferences, I mean, even people who don't believe in God, like, do you believe in the innate intelligence? Do you get let's say you get a cut, right? Does it heal? Of course, you're not broken. Then let's get to these interferences.
Yeah, the very intelligence has the ability to heal that cut or the broken arm, can heal whatever they're dealing with.
And that's empowering.
Yeah, you took my last thunder because I was going to say, tell them something to inspire. You just did it. So,
Let me think of something else. No,
honestly, but what you just spoke were very wise words that I hope alternative practitioners watching this actually really grasp that because it's true. The very power that made the body heals the body, and it's in there to remove the interference, and the body will heal. If something's not healing, there's an interference.
And if you ask the average person, do they believe in innate intelligence, or ask them if their body's going to heal when they get a cut, it's always yes.
Yeah.
So why do we think we need all these supplements, right? It's a little bit of a paradigm shift, and there's just a little bit of a disconnect there. And you are doing so much work and just coming mainstream to connect these dots, really, to save people time, energy, resources, and get them their life
your
back.
story helps because people need the stories, especially so many people your age group now are sick, which was never the case in my age group.
We're the first, what did you say?
You're the first generation not to outlive their parents. That's a scary thought.
It's really bad.
Your generation, you and my son's generation, first generation not to outlive their parents. So of course, like my parents' generation, they really didn't start developing symptoms, diseases until their 50s and 60s. That's the truth. Your generation, 20s and 30s.
I can't think of one friend, and I'm 24. I can't think of one of my friends, one of my girlfriends, who doesn't have some type of chronic health issue.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's terrifying.
It's become, unfortunately, normal. Yeah. It's not normal. It's common, but it's not normal, but it's becoming a normal. I hear the conversations, and people are choosing, to live their life like that when it doesn't have to be. So, yeah. Please like and share this. So many people need to hear that story, and that's going to not only give them hope, but I believe is going to give them answers. So Another great pain to purpose story on the Dr. Pompa podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Dr. Pompa podcast. More stories like that change lives. Thank you, Ava.
Thank you so much
being
for
here.
having me.
Yeah,
It was an
thanks
honor.
for sharing.